You've spent months building toward this moment. Months. Your players have been tracking this villain across continents. They've seen the destruction he caused. They've lost NPCs they cared about, which, let's be honest, doesn't happen often. They've gathered legendary weapons. They've been talking about this fight between sessions. And now, finally, they're standing in his throne room. Weapons drawn, spells prepared, ready for the ultimate confrontation.
And then the fight lasts 12 minutes, the boss goes down in 3 rounds, and everyone at the table is just underwhelmed.
This is the nightmare. This is the thing that keeps DMs awake at night, because the boss fight is supposed to be everything. It's the moment the entire campaign has been building toward. And if it falls flat, if it's boring or anticlimactic or worse, forgettable, you failed. Not just a DM, but as a storyteller. No pressure, right?
Actually, yeah, lots of pressure, an uncomfortable amount of pressure, honestly.
Ciao. Welcome to Cantrip.
My name is Simo.
And my name is Diego.
And we need to talk about boss fights. We've mentioned them before in another video, but today we are going deep. Because there are so many ways a boss fight can go wrong, so many ways it can end up being this limp, disappointing thing that everyone just wants to get over with. And we are going to tell you exactly how to avoid that.
Because here's the thing, and I cannot stress this enough, a boss fight is not just another combat encounter. It's not the, oh, we rolled some initiative, let's see what happens. It's the single most anticipated event of your entire campaign. If you've built it correctly, your players have been thinking about this for weeks. This is the ultimate challenge, the final test, the moment where everything comes together.
And it cannot be disappointing. It can't. You don't get a do-over on this.
Feeling anxious yet? Good. You should be. Embrace it. Let it fuel you.
A boss fight, like some random encounter with goblins or bandits or whatever, lasts forever. We are talking 3 hours, 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours if things get really messy. And if that fight isn't engaging, if it's just players sitting there rolling dice, waiting for their turn, watching you roll your attack and damage over and over while nothing interesting happens,
roll the dice!
You've just subjected your friends to 4 hours of what is essentially a spreadsheet simulator disguised as an epic finale. That's the kind of thing people bring up years later. Remember the time we fought the Demon Lord and it took 4 hours and nothing happened?
But, and here's the good news, after this video you're going to know how to make your bosses like a boss. See what I did there? I'm very pleased with that. So let's get into it. First thing first, the most important thing, the thing without which literally everything else we are about to say is completely pointless. You need an actually cool boss. If your villain isn't compelling, if they're just some random evil guy the players met 2 sessions ago, if their threat hasn't been looming over the campaign for months, if the players don't have a personal reason to want them dead, then no amount of fancy mechanics will save that fight. You can give them legendary actions, layer actions, phase transitions, whatever. It won't matter, because nobody cares. Your boss needs to be a villain that weighs. They need to be scary. They need to be personal. The players need to want to take them down. Not because it's the next quest on the list, but because they're emotionally invested. We've got a whole video on building great villains. Go watch that if you haven't. But seriously, start there. Everything else is window dressing if the foundation isn't solid.
Okay, assuming you've got a villain people actually care about, here's where it's get fun. The stat block. Obviously, your boss needs prepared stats. You can't throw a CR5 creature at a level 15 party and expect it to feel threatening. Don't just grab a stat block from the monster manual and call it done. That's lazy. And more importantly, it's predictable. Your players have read the monster manual. Some of them have it memorized. If you just use a standard leech, they know exactly what to expect. They know the leech has paralyzing touch. They know it can cast power word kill. They've already planned around it. So mess with them, adapt the stat block, modify it, mix and match, Frankenstein that thing. Think about what your boss actually is in the story, and then build mechanics that reflect that. Is your villain a necromancer who made a pact with a demon? Cool. Take a leech stat block and graft on some abilities from a Balor. Give them a flaming whip. Let them teleport in a burst of hellfire. Now your players can't just rely on metagame knowledge. They have to adapt. on the fly. Is your boss a dragon who's been corrupted by apparent magic? Mix a dragon breath weapon with mind flayer psychic abilities. Give them tentacles, make their breath weapon deal psychic damage and impose madness instead of fire damage. Make it weird, make it unsettling, make your players go, wait, what?
Wait, what?
This is massive for keeping a long fight engaging, because when players think they know how a fight works, they get complacent, they optimize. They go on autopilot, but when you throw them a curveball, when the lich suddenly teleports and whips someone across the room, they have to stay sharp. They have to think. And that's where fights are fun. One more thing about stat blocks. Environment matters. A vampire in their castle at midnight should have completely different abilities than that same vampire ambushed at noon in an open field. Home turf, buff them. Give them advantages.
I have the high ground!
Disadvantageous terrain, maybe they are weaker, but more desperate, which creates a different kind of tension. Your stat block should reflect where the fight is happening, not just who the fight is against. Now, one of the best tools in your arsenal for making a boss feel epic: multiple phases. This is straight out of Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Elden Ring games that understand how to make a single fight feel like an event. When your boss hits half health, something needs to change. And I don't mean, oh, they're bloodied now, they look hurt. I mean, the fight fundamentally shifts. They transform. They start using completely different abilities. The environment changes. Something happens that make it feel like the fight just escalated from dangerous to, oh god, we're all going to die.
I had a boss in one of my campaigns, Guthralk, the Keeper of the Void. Big, bad, evil guy, end of a long campaign, level 15 party. For the first half of the fight, he was this imposing, corrupted humanoid figure. Lots of shadow magic, summoning void creatures every couple rounds, standard scary big stuff. The party was handling it, not easily, but they were handling it. And then he hit half health, and his body cracked open like an eggshell. This massive aberration emerged from inside him, his true form, his Bloodborne-style nightmare with too many limbs and eyes in wrong places. Completely different stat block, different resistances, the abilities he'd been using, gone. Now he had new ones, worse ones. The paladin, who'd been doing well against his necrotic damage, suddenly realized radiant damage, his whole build was way less effective against this thing. Suddenly, the fight they thought they understood became something entirely new. The tension, which had been dropping as they got into a rhythm, shot back up instantly. They had to adapt. They had to figure it out all over again. That's what a phase transition does. It resets the fight, it makes it feel bigger, and it's one of the most reliable ways to keep a long encounter from dragging.
Legendary actions and legendary resistances. If you're not using this, you're doing boss fights wrong. I'm sorry, but you are. Legendary actions are what let your boss break the normal rules of action economy. And that's what makes them scary. Without legendary actions, your boss takes one turn and then sits there like a punching bag while 4 or 5 players wail on them for a full round before they get to act again. That's boring. That's not threatening. That's just sad. But with legendary actions, your boss acts on other creatures' turn. They stay dynamic. They stay in the fight. The battlefield keeps moving. Players can't just dump all their actions and then relax until their next turn, because the boss might retaliate immediately. And legendary resistances are just as critical. But here's where a lot of DMs mess this up. When a player casts a save or suck spell, hold person, banishment, whatever, and the boss uses a legendary resistance to succeed, don't just say, he saves. That feels bad for the player. It feels like their action was wasted. Instead, describe what's happening. The whole person spell wraps around him, and for a split second, his body locks up. You can see it working. But then he roars, and the magic shatters. You see the strain on his face that took effort. He's got 2 more of those left. Now the player knows their spell wasn't useless. They weakened him. They burn a resource, they're making progress. That's way more satisfying than, yeah, he just succeeded on the save. Next. And hey, real quick, if you're finding this helpful, do us a favor, drop a like on the video, hit subscribe, smash that bell. It genuinely helps us keep making this kind of content. We'd really appreciate it. Alright, back to the bosses.
Let's talk about where this fight happens, because environment is huge. A throne room is different from a collapsing bridge, is different from an active volcano, is different from the astral plane. The space shapes the fight. Are your players storming the boss's lair? Then the boss should have home turf advantage. Traps, hazards, escape routes. The environment should be actively hostile. Use layer actions, make the floor crack and spew lava, make the ceiling collapse, have shadowy tendrils reach up and grapple people. The space itself should feel dangerous. Or maybe the boss is coming to them, maybe the boss is laying siege to their stronghold, and now the players have to defend their territory. That's a completely different tone. Now the player have advantages. They know the layout, they've prepared defenses, but the boss is bringing an army. It's the same encounter mechanically, but it feels completely different.
And don't sleep on music. If you've been using music throughout your campaign, and you should be, we've got a video on that, this is the moment to deploy the boss's theme. The second your players walk into the throne room and the music kicks in, everyone at the table feels it. It's Pavlovian at that point. That melody has been associated with this villain for months. And now it's playing, and everyone knows what that means.
The boss isn't just trying to kill your players, they are trying to accomplish something. And that something should have a timer on it. Maybe they are completing a ritual, maybe they are summoning reinforcements, maybe they are trying to escape through a portal, maybe they are trying to destroy an artifact and players need. Whatever it is, put a clock on it. You've got 5 rounds before the portal opens and an army of demons pours through. Or every round that passes, another civilian dies in the ritual. Now suddenly, the fight isn't just about whittling down HP, it's about stopping the boss before they succeed. Now players have to make choices. Do we focus fire on the boss? Do we deal with the ritual components? Do we split up? And suddenly, the fight has layers. It has stakes beyond just win or die.
Oh, and don't be afraid to give your boss company. A solo boss can work, but it's risky. Action economy is brutal, and even a powerful creature can get overwhelmed fast if it's 1 against 5. But if you add minions, lieutenants, environmental hazards that act like creatures, suddenly your players have to make tactical decisions. Do we burn down the ads first? Do we ignore them and focus fire? Do we split up and try to handle both?
Or, and this is one of our favorite tricks, add a puzzle element. The boss has 7 glowing crystals floating above their head, and the players realize those crystals are what's making the boss invulnerable. Now they have to figure out how to destroy the crystals while also not dying to the boss's attacks. It's way more engaging than just hit the bad guy until his HP reaches 0.
Here's another mechanic we love, straight out of Shadow of the Colossus: vulnerable areas. This works best for truly massive bosses, ancient dragons, titans, kaiju-sized monstrosities. The boss has specific weak points that players need to target. Glowing runes on its body, exposed joints in its armor, cracks in its exoskeleton, wherever makes sense for the creature. And those weak points need to be destroyed before the boss can actually be killed. Until then, regular attacks just aren't as effective. This forces player to move around the battlefield, to coordinate, to think about positioning and tactics instead of just standing still and trading blows. It makes the fight feel like a set-piece encounter instead of a math problem.
But, and this is important, if your boss has a gimmick, a trick, a puzzle mechanic that players need to figure out, make it obvious. Don't be subtle. We learned this the hard way. One campaign, we had a boss called the Sun Lord. We gave him 5 elemental towers scattered around the arena, and the idea was players had to destroy the towers before they could really hurt him. Great, in theory. Except we didn't make it obvious enough. The players spent 4 rounds attacking the boss directly, getting more and more frustrated because their damage wasn't doing anything. And by the time they figured out the gimmick, oh, we have to destroy the towers first, they were already tilted. The fight became a slog. It wasn't fun. We thought we were being clever and mysterious, but really we were just being unclear.
So here's the lesson. Make your mechanics obvious. Have an NPC shout a hint. Make the weak points glow. Have the boss taunt the players about their future attacks while gesturing at the towers. Whatever it takes. Don't make your players feel stupid or powerless. Make them feel challenged.
Let's talk about timing. Here's something that works stupidly well. The best boss fights don't happen at the start of a session. They don't happen in the middle of a session. They happen after a cliffhanger.
The session before the boss fight, you build toward the confrontation. The players fight through the dungeon. They solve the puzzles. They take out the minions. They reach the final door. They open it, and there he is. The boss stands up from his throne, he gives his villain monologue, and make it good, because this is the moment. The music kicks in, everyone is on the edge of their seats, their hands are on their dice, and then you end the session, right there. You don't roll initiative, you don't start the fight, you stop. You let it hang, and your players are going to lose their freaking minds.
Losing my mind.
They'll spend the next week texting each other. They'll be theory crafting strategies. They'll be optimizing spell list. They'll be thinking about this fight constantly. The anticipation builds and builds, and then next session, you dedicate the entire thing to that fight. 3 hours, 4 hours, however long it takes. No side quests, no distractions, just the boss. That build up, that week of anticipation, that makes the fight feel massive. It's not just another encounter, it's an event. It's the Super Bowl of your campaign, and your players will remember it forever.
One last thing, and this is crucial, know your table. You have to calibrate your boss fight based on what your players actually enjoy. If your table comes from a critical role background, they want cinematic moments, they want dramatic RP, they want emotional stakes and characters making meaningful choices. Give them that. If your players come from a Dark Souls or Elden Ring background, they want brutal difficulty. They want pattern recognition. They want a fight that feels like a puzzle they can solve through skill and mastery. Give them that. If they're casual players who just want to feel like heroes, give them a fight that's challenging but not punishing. Let them feel powerful. Let them have their moments.
There's no universal boss fight. You have to build the encounter, honestly, the entire campaign, around what makes your specific table happy. Pay attention to what excites them, pay attention to what they talk about after sessions, and then give them more of that.
So, to wrap this up, start with a villain people give a damn about. Modify their stat block so it's unpredictable. Give them multiple phases. Use legendary actions and resistances. Make the environment dangerous. Add urgency with timers or objectives. Don't be afraid of minions or puzzle mechanics. Make your mechanics obvious, not clever. Build anticipation with the cliffhanger and tailor everything to your players.
Do that, and your boss fights will be the moments your players talk about for years. The moments that define your campaign. The moments that make all those months of prep worth it.
And that's all we've got on this one. If you've run memorable boss fights, or if you've got tricks we didn't cover, drop them in the comments. We genuinely want to hear what's worked for you.
And if you want more content like this, more homebrew, more DMing advice, more arguing about game design, make sure you're subscribed. Now go build something your players will never forget.
Until next time, keep rolling.
Thanks for watching!